who else you want to ask a question to. So feel free to do that. However, I need to make a request first. How does this mic work? Okay. Okay, I need to make a request first. That is, if there's anyone out there that could run back to the bar and get me a beer, would be great. Or two. Okay, Leon, come on up, Leon. Come on up. We're doing Q&A now. No, Q&A. Oh, there's a microphone there. Yeah. Well, you may need a mic. I need a mic. Okay. First question. I know there's one out there.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.
What age did you start playing drums?
Okay. Question for Leon.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And what was?
What age did he
This is
start?
what you had to be the king.
That's what I needed. That's what I needed. Thank you.
Domo arigato. Gozaimasu.
Was that on film?
I've been playing. I probably started playing when I was about 10.
Well, your dad?
Yeah, I
That makes
actually
sense.
started before that, but not on actual drums. I used to bang on my brother's head and trash cans, and cardboard boxes, anything that would resonate with little cardboard hangers, little inserts for the cardboard hangers. Those were my drumsticks. Until I graduated to real wood. My dad bought me my first snare drum when I think I was 10, right around 10 years old. I started with that. And wanted to make sure I was actually interested. And so I played the snare drum for about a year. I got bored with that. Not really bored, but there's only so much you can do with a snare drum,
Did you sneak and?
My dad bought me a bass drum, then he bought me a cymbal, and then over the next couple of years, ended up with a full kit. So I started about 10 years old.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to be on your album?
Yeah. Well, Bob's going to play on some of it. Ian's going to be on some of it. I haven't really narrowed down all the players yet, but there's some guys I've played with over the years, different bands that probably guest artists on the album, on the CD. Not sure. Still working on songs. Bob and I have been going back and forth trying to narrow down the songs I want to do, and I have an idea the direction I want to go, but it keeps changing.
Original compositions, covers?
Mostly covers. Bob and I are working on maybe a couple originals. There's a possibility that I might do, if we can get a hold of the old tracks, the old masters, some of the stuff my dad did on songs like Dueling Drums and a couple of drum songs. If we can get a hold of the masters, we might pull those drum tracks out of those masters and try to do something like a play off each other. If we can do that. Technically, it's kind of challenging, but we might be able to do that. If we get a hold of the masters, I think we can.
The Eddies.
Is that?
The Eddies. That was
Yeah.
A quick follow-up, what's going to be on your album?
Who's going to be on my album? Me. No, as you probably know, I record a lot of stuff myself and try to play all the parts. But actually, I do have I had quite a bit of help on this album, this new one. It's actually finished. We're just in the mixing stages right now. But my son Ian has done a lot of work in terms of arrangement and also helping fix things when he says that ain't working. So, and he has a much more better ear for contemporary type of sounds and stuff. So he's helped me quite a bit. I also have one guest on there. About 5-6 years ago, we did a remake of Lonely Bull for Adventures album. And I did that with Bob. And I had the tracks, and I was always fooling around with doing a Lonely Bull guitar version of it. And I always thought it was great, so I ended up doing it on this album. But to make a long story short, the guitar part, the electric guitar part in it, because I did it acoustically, the electric guitar part in it, I had a friend of mine come in, and his artistic name is Taisco Del Rey. You may know him by the name of Dan Fort. He's a contributing editor to Vintage Guitar Magazine. Great guy, I've known Dan for a long time. So, in answer to your question, 3 people.
When you're not doing venture stuff, what kind of music do you like to listen to?
I actually, and I'll let Leon answer this question too, but I actually have been gravitating toward more of a pop jazz type of feel. And with stuff that, with guitar players like Johnny Smith, I've always admired him, who actually wrote Walked Over In. Contemporary guitar players like Bill Frisell, and we're actually talking with Bill about some projects right now. And just some of the other more, I guess, adventurous types of music from that standpoint.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you? I'll translate.
What kind of music do I listen to?
What
Or
do you like to
You're not
listen to
doing
when you're
venture
not playing the
stuff,
venture stuff?
what kind of music do I like to listen to? Wow. I like all kinds of music. I listen to rap, believe it or not. Believe it? Yeah. More progressive, I like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Terry Bozzio. I don't know if you know any of those names.
Yeah.
You probably do. A little bit more progressive stuff. It's kind of where I came from before the Ventures. Ventures kind of tamed me down a little bit, I guess you might say. I listen to everything: jazz, pop, rock. One of my favorite bands is Aerosmith.
Yeah. Thank you. Did you really?
One of the interesting,
Was he wearing nail polish back then?
one of the interesting forms of music that Leon and I have both been exposed to is Japanese music. And they have some definitive types of music over there. And one of the things that we're thinking about for Leon's album is perhaps using some of the traditional drums that they use over there. It was gigantic drums,
Taiko
Yeah.
Kyoto drums. Maybe doing something with that.
And to get some different, percussive effects type thing. Okay?
Is Mr. DeFranco's going to be your agent in America?
Is Mr. DeFranco going to be our new agent in America?
No.
No. No, he won't.
Not our agent. He's still our road manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, he never was an agent. He was just our road manager. He's our road
Yeah.
manager. He still works with
Yeah,
us,
yeah. As far as we know.
Actually, he was very
Yeah.
He was very instrumental in getting us finding this new agency for us out of Florida, AIM, American International Music or something like that.
It's not magicians.
Hmm?
It's not magicians, it's probably musicians.
Magicians.
So yeah, Jack was really instrumental. He found the agency for us, and they're really excited about the ventures. They carry they represent guys like BTO and Jerry Lee Lewis, Molly Hatchet. You guys remember them? There's a few others, quite a few others.
Yeah, there quite a bit of magical acts that they.
Yeah, magical acts. Pull a rabbit out of the hat, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No, just kidding, just kidding.
Juggling.
What got you interested in music?
I'm sorry?
What got you interested in music?
What got you interested? Oh, me? What got me interested in music? I have no idea. There's nobody in my family that was musically oriented. And I have no idea how. Artie and I have traced the Spalding lineage back to a Albert Spalding, who was a very famous concert violinist some time ago. Other than that,
It was a recessive gene.
it's a recessive gene, yeah. And I'm a pretty recessive guy. But in answer to the question, I really don't know. I mean, what really got me interested in music was the early guitar work in the 50s by people like Link Ray and Scotty Moore, who played guitar for Elvis, Hank Garland. And of course, what really inspired me was a group called The Ventures. So,
Really?
strange, yeah, they really did.
I heard them guys were really good too.
They heard, yeah, they were.
And really old.
Yes.
Hey,
All right.
Just some of them.
easy now.
What inspired you to be in music?
I'll get back to you.
Not thought about that?
I don't think it was my dad or anything. Really, my dad was instrumental in rejoining an instrumental band, The Ventures. No, it was my dad. I mean, before The Ventures, I was listening to, well, actually, right around the same time, I was listening to Iron Butterfly, Jimi Hendrix, you know, the 60s. What I consider metal of that time, but that's kind of changed. Heavy metal has kind of gone off in a whole different direction since then. But I consider that heavy metal back then. But mostly my dad, Adventures.
Yes, sir.
Well, for both of you, Leon, Hudson Lake and Palmer, especially Cole Palmer, with his progressive style of drumming. Any thoughts on that?
I hear that.
These are musicians, you have to speak up.
Oh, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
Cole Palmer,
Yeah.
he's, you know, back in the 70s when they first came out with their music, you know, the drums were so precise, so spot on. Greg Lake on bass and guitar. I mean,
Carl
what
Palmer.
any influence there?
Yeah, there was actually a lot of those bands. A lot of those bands influenced me. I mean, not only just the Ventures, like I was saying earlier, Iron Butterfly. Iron Butterfly was actually the first drum solo. The In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida was the first drum solo I tried to pick apart and learn. The next one was Caravan. So two diverse drum solos, but I thought I did pretty good at both. But Emerson, Lake and Palmer was a big influence. Carl Palmer, and another big influence on me was Neil Peart from Rush. One of the besides Terry Bozzio. Terry Bozzio's my idol. I don't know if you guys know who Terry Bozzio is. if you're into drums, check him out. Go on terrybozzio.com. He's got a lot of YouTube videos. Go on YouTube. Terry Bozzio he's got it down. I idolize Terry Bozzio. Besides my dad, of course. A lot of influence. A lot of those early progressive rock bands.
Leon, you mentioned Iron Butterfly and Caravan right after that. And I guess in all of the live concerts I've seen you guys play on the extended Caravan solos, I always thought I heard a little bit of the beat creeping in there, coming back.
Yeah, yeah, actually, I mean, you know, it comes from. I mean, I think it's just back in your mind. You know, I don't. It's not that it's a conscious effort to bring that stuff out. It's just you play what you learned over the years. You know, it's like back there in the back of your mind. You know, when it comes to drums for me. And then it's kind of veered away from some of that In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida kind of drum licks to more stuff that a little bit different, you know, more cross between that and my dad and my own influence. So yeah, early when I first joined the band, there was a big, that those kind of things. That was definitely got to be about the drummer from them.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, on that Terry Bosio, I was in my first band in '85, we had a female singer, and we were gonna do Miss Persons. So I went out and bought a full set of Royal Times.
Yeah.
Just like Terry Bosio. So, just wanted to say.
Yeah,
Really?
he
A
was,
lot of fun playing that music.
yeah, he was one of the first guys to really do anything like that.
Yeah, I had a buddy that had a full set of Royals, so I bought them, and I still have them today, you know. I don't use them, but I still have them.
Roto. Yes, sir.
You know, how old were you when you first realized you had a famous father? And what was it like when you found out?
That's a good question. I guess I was probably, had to be probably my early teens, when I first realized, that the Ventures were, my dad was as famous as he was. The Ventures had a white van at one time that said Adventures on the side of it. And they used to use that van to get around town and do gigs in San Fernando Valley. And I remember my dad picking me up one time in that van and looking at the side of it, Adventures. Adventures. So, you guys must be famous. So that's kind of, when you're a kid, you don't really think about it. It's just part of your environment.
Did your friends think anything of it?
My friends always thought, I think that was why I had so many friends. without my dad being famous, I probably wouldn't have been so popular. And I wasn't very popular, but trust me.
I had a pork chop around my neck so the dog would play with it.
Yeah, right.
As you know, I worked with Mel, Leon's dad, for a number of years, and one of the things that I recall is that he didn't have a Porsche, he didn't have a Ferrari, he had a green big station wagon, and it had all the baseball equipment in there because he coached baseball, Little League baseball, and some of the interesting aspects of our career to this point is when I was rehearsing with Mel, Jerry McGee, and John Durrell for the Dynamics tour. We rehearsed at Mel's house, and it was up on the second floor in a little area up there. And right off that area was a bedroom, and that's where Leon and Michael's bedroom was.
Yeah.
And Leon was...
I was in high school.
Yeah, Leon was in high school at that point in time, so yeah, it's kind of interesting. I hold that over his head as much as I can.
Yeah.
Question for Leon. When you watch the old black and white videos of the Ventures on YouTube and they're in Japan playing live, it seems like your dad was had adrenaline flowing because the songs were always really fast. Any explanation? Or is it just the adrenaline?
I think it's the adrenaline. I keep bringing those old videos up and trying to get everybody on board to pick everything up to those tempos, but not happening.
Well, we call your father Machine Gun, so whenever we
Yeah.
listen to those.
Some of that stuff, the Live 65, I think it was recorded that way, but Don says it wasn't. He said they sped it up when they mastered it, because he sounds like a chipmunk when he sings and talks. But I think he sounded like that back then anyway. Don't tell him I said that.
Question here. Speaking of videos and the like, do you people have hidden footage of your ancestry that us fans would be interested in? Videos from the 60s, maybe on 8mm, rotting some shelf?
Any videos to release?
Get caught with
in your house.
Get caught with your hand in a cookie jar when you were a kid and said, "Nah, take it."
Oh, did we have access to any of that footage?
Yeah, you know, did you get caught doing anything bad? When you were
No,
rehearsing?
I don't, you probably know too, I don't think anybody had access to any of that stuff. I don't think today anybody has access to that stuff except for, who did that back then, was that Toshiba? The old black and white stuff? EMI Toshiba, I think, owns that stuff, and you know, you'd have to pay him, you'd have to sell your firstborn to get access to that stuff.
Most of those black and white videos on YouTube are from Beloved Invaders.
That's right, yeah.
Film, and they've re-released that on DVD.
Right.
So you can get a good copy.
Yeah, you can, but I think who owns that is Toshiba. Yeah. It's EMI now.
A quick question.
Reverse. It was EMI,
EMI.
and now it's
Now it's,
EMI was Toshiba back then.
yeah, right, Toshiba.
But they own, EMI owns Toshiba, I guess.
I, you know, quite frankly, I think it's really undetermined right now because the Beloved Invaders, a lot of the legacy stuff that you see in black and white was shot and produced by a friend of theirs named George Stevens, I think. I'm not sure exactly, but he was a friend of the Ventures during that time. And he was the one that actually owned and made deals to release the film. And I'm not sure that the ownership of the film itself has been ever completely defined. Let me put it that way. So, I mean, not that, but I think what you're moving toward is a great idea because right now we've not seen a definitive biography of, if you will, video of the Ventures themselves. And maybe that's good because we're still going.
Well, you know, Martin Scorsese is making a documentary on George Harrison. It airs on HBO.
Yeah.
In a few days. There should be something for you guys, you know, like that.
We'd like to. We'd like to very much. Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's very difficult to try to pull all that stuff together. And not that we haven't tried, but we still try to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually something in the works with our old agency, Paradise Artists. We started working with them. I think it was about 9. Well, when did we sign with
Started about 2000.
Paradise Artists? About 2005. We started putting together a DVD package through them, and it just became licensing and everything else, trying to get the footage that we needed to actually do the project. We just couldn't do it because it was too expensive. And so that kind of came to a halt. That kind of everything is kind of still in the can. And now that we're not with Paradise anymore, I don't know who owns any of that stuff. I don't know who has it. We may have it. Don would know that. But there was a lot of good stuff that they were putting together, and just kind of came to a halt, unfortunately.
I love Noki Edwards playing to death, and I particularly like his solo stuff, but it seems to me the Ventures do a little bit more innovative things with Jerry McGee is playing, but he doesn't do any touring in the United States anymore, right?
That's correct.
He
Yeah.
just does the summer tours.
Right. We don't have any comment on that. We can't have any comment on that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All of us kind of learned how to play Ventures tunes, listening to the records and trying to imitate them.
Yeah. Right.
I wanted to ask if Leon, is there anything that your father recorded that you happen to be able to master?
Is there anything that the Ventures drummer Mel Taylor recorded that Leon hasn't mastered?
Wow. Yeah, just about everything. I mean, mastered as far as learning.
Well, I'll listen to Noki Edwards playing Caravan, and I can't approach that.
Yeah.
Is there something your dad did that he recorded and say, wow, I'm never going to play that?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff my dad, a lot of stuff that was recorded that my dad did that I couldn't even come close to, you know. And that was one of the big, not a big concern when I joined the band, but it was in the back of my mind. excuse me, how am I gonna fill his shoes? You know, how am I gonna fill my dad's shoes? And it's just, you know, the music was in me. I mean, I grew up listening to my dad and the Ventures, so the style was already there, but it kind of moved. I moved in a different direction. You know, little did I know that I would be playing drums for the Ventures. You know, when my dad passed away, but I still work on stuff. I mean, I'm still listening to some of my dad's early recordings and trying to pick out little things that he did, because it was classic. You know, I mean, I always said my dad's a very underrated drummer. You know, he really was. I mean, there's a lot of guys in this room probably that learned how to play from my dad. I mean, he taught me pretty much everything I knew. And then I went off in a different direction and tried to learn more and more and more and more from different people.
He's got one-handed rolls. Is that true? I heard that. One-handed rolls.
He was pretty close to the left hand. The left hand, forget it. I could practice for 5 years and never get that left hand, because he had that you know, just one hand. You know, I have to do that with the shuffle. That, you know, or on the snare drum. That. The left hand was monster. It was a monster. That's probably the hardest thing. That would be the hardest thing to master. Would be the left hand. His left hand technique. My dad always said that, man, you don't even, you know, he said, you're a much better drummer than I am. I said, get out of here. You know, he used to tell me that all the time. He said, you're much better than I am. I said, nah, get out of here. Not even.
Leon, I actually
Yeah.
had a question for Leon. Everybody was asking me. You guys all get handouts as usual, and Bob and Leon, you also get handouts. And part of Leon's handouts related to the question. The Ventures had, your dad played until 72. Then he took a hiatus for, I don't know, 6, 8 years. And 3 of your handouts, whether you want them or not, are 73, 78. If you go back, I know you took over in 96 for Dad. Did you go back and listen to Joe Burrill for the 6, 7 years and listen to his technique? Because at the time, Joe brought a, sort of like you, he brought he brought, you know, he brought a little bit of new energy. You know, some of the drum fills it made some of the songs like Pipeline a little bit different.
Yeah.
And for those 6 or 8 years, we really, you know, had a different feel for some of the stuff that your dad had played. Not that your dad didn't play it right.
No. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that. I'll listen to it. I definitely will. I mean, I've heard a lot of the Joe Borelli stuff, and he's a very accomplished drummer, a very good drummer. But
I
there's
always
nobody
thought-
like Mel
I always
Taylor.
thought that he did overplay at times. He
He
overplayed.
did overplay. Anybody got any microphone? We could turn off that tape, will you? His timing wasn't great. Let's just put it that way.
Well, you know, before Joey became drummer for the Ventures, I played, you know, I did sessions a lot in LA, and I did a lot of sessions with Joey, and he's a great drummer. He's a very technique-oriented drummer. But he was a percussionist, you know. He was great at timbales and congas and stuff like that. And that's what caused him to, in my opinion, it caused him to always overplay, because he was always trying to do the timbale type thing.
But interestingly, Modern Drummer interviewed Mel. And I don't know if I read it in that interview or another interview. But they asked your father, they said that your father, they said, Mel, with your backing, big band sound, the fact that you played in high school in the marching band, that kind of thing. And obviously when you play with the Ventures, you're probably not underplaying, but you're a lot better than what you're showing, or you're a lot more accomplished. And he said, his reply was great. Well, the Ventures are a guitar band, they aren't a drum band. And so when Joe Barilli came along, he did infuse it with some of the, fancier fills and everything, but there were times he overplayed.
Sure,
So that's
yeah.
interesting that you guys picked
One of the characteristics I was going to add to Leon's comments about Mel was that he was an unassuming drummer. He actually referred to himself. He said, "I'm a slammer. I'm a slammer. That's all I do." But he was probably the most powerful drummer that I've worked with ever. He was just a powerhouse guy.
All that stuff that all that stuff that you hear from the Beloved Invaders, as you can see on stage, they have no microphones. All the sounds coming out of the amplifiers, there was always one microphone in front of the drums.
Yeah.
That was it. So my dad he used to play with logs. And his sticks were, they had to be, because he had to project over the 3 amplifiers that were blasting. So, and you can still hear them. You can still hear every lick. And so that's, like Bob said, he was a slammer, but he definitely had a different, unusual, and very unique technique. It's that left hand. This is the left hand.
Do you know for a fact of what your dad did, as far as his influence of what he was listening to before he came into what was he listening to? Who was he listening to?
My dad was a Gene Krupa fan.
Gene Krupa?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can hear it in his playing.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's where the bass tag came from on Caravan. Because Gene Krupa did that on the upright bass. Was that on Big Sound from Monopoly? Yeah. And I think that's where my dad got that from.
Big win.
Big win from what?
Big noise.
Big noise. Nice one.
Big noise. Big noise.
Big noise.
Big sound, big noise, big win.
Now that you're taking over a lot of the leads, and those like Noki's playing bass.
Yeah.
How does Noki react to that? I mean, he's no longer playing lead for a lot of the time.
He doesn't care. No, Noki is such a great guy. He really is. He's a beautiful guy. And as you know, when the venture started out, he played a lot of bass. And he was very innovative in the bass that bass lines that he played. And so he didn't mind playing bass at all. And actually, when we do our tours, either in the winter or in the summer, we switch off on leads. I play some leads, and then Noki plays most of the leads, or Jerry plays leads, stuff like that. They really don't care, because being out there in the front man, for an hour, 15 minutes, takes its toll on you. And so they don't mind at all taking a break and pulling back and putting a young guy like me out there right in the front and just pushing him off the stage. You go make the mistakes.
Everybody would like to thank you for bringing back a lot of the venture songs that we haven't heard.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Bringing a lot of the old catalogs.
Thanks. Thank you. I'll take credit for it. Actually, Leon and I do a lot of.
Because we saw so many good numbers this year.
Yeah, Leon and I do a lot of. We try to get a lot of the old stuff in there because that's what people want to hear.
Well, we thought Don fought you guys on that. He doesn't now?
They do. He does.
He
Yeah.
does, really? He doesn't want to go back and try to learn it?
It's interesting their perception on what brought them to the party, if you will. It's interesting. They say, well, we just weren't very good back then. We listen to that. It was just like, oh man, I can't. Why would you want to do something like that? So, and that's the kind of understandable, approach that they have. And they always wanted to do something more sophisticated than anybody else. And that's, how it kind of snowballed, if you will.
I'm always looking for new stuff. Not new stuff as Ventures new stuff, but stuff that we haven't played on stage before. And like Bob said, Don has a really hard time doing that, but I don't know why, because a lot of the early stuff, man, there's so much cool material. There's really a lot of stuff. We brought out, for this last tour in Japan, we brought out The Fugitive. Did The Fugitive, did Stop Action. And nobody else, I mean, not that nobody else wants to, but see, Jerry didn't play on that stuff. Noki played on all that stuff, so not that he doesn't really want to, but Bob has Bob Vogel's style down pretty good. And some of that stuff is definitely Bob Vogel, a lot of the early stuff. So we're always looking for new material. Is there any new material?
The Creeper has to be played like.
Sorry?
The Creeper, from the 64 volume to Walk Around volume 2. The Creeper. That's a
Oh, the Creeper. Yeah, we did. That's a really good one too.
There is a short version, but he called it the long version. That will bring down the jazz.
Yeah, we did that one a few years ago.
Yeah, we did, tried it, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say, hearing you play Yellow Bird, and on one of your albums, you guys played Maria Elena. It touches us to hear you play something soft and beautiful.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate that, thank you so much. One of the hard parts of being an instrumental group is coming up with material to continue to interest folks. And it's gone from very, mellow type stuff, like Maria Elena, Yellowbird, things like that, all the way to very, rock-oriented stuff. But it is a challenge to do that, but it's always nice to get those compliments when having to do those, not having to do those songs, but putting a lot of work into those songs. Michael.
I just want to ask you, it sounds like you have some ideas for future recordings. Eventually you signed with 2 record companies in Japan. Do M&I or EMI Japan know this? And would they approach you for new recordings?
Well,
We're not really signed with any label.
yeah, as you know, the record business is changing dramatically. Yeah, and our agency, M&I Company in Japan, which has also released many of our records over there, as well as EMI Japan, has released a lot of our records over there, and we work with both of those companies. They're both making transitions into the digital age, and so they're being very careful about what they put their money into. And even though we like to think that we got a lot of good ideas, there's other folks out there like Janet Jackson and other folks that, sell a lot of records. And so it's very difficult to come up with things that are going to be interesting to them in Japan.
Have you considered being at the J. Atkins Appreciation Society? That's an annual event for guitarists in Nashville.
J. Atkins
No,
Appreciation
CAS. J. Atkins Appreciation
Right,
Society.
yeah.
So Noki goes there,
Yeah,
rest
he
of the
does,
band
yeah.
goes there, new
Right,
bands.
yeah. Well, if we could get a contingent of people to go there, it'd be great, yeah. But it's hard to do right now, yeah. It's hard for us to do those kind of things right now, in Nashville and stuff. We thought, or rather, I thought that one of the things that the Ventures could do would be to do a second country album. And I thought about that in terms of how it affected me. Because the country album was one of those albums, as you said, you try to figure out stuff. And if anyone's ever heard Panhandle Rag, the Noki Edwards lick, which he learned from someone else, I can't do it. I still can't do it. And, but I thought that would be a great, album to do. It was one of the worst selling albums that the guys did in their career. We all like it because we're, guitar players, But I think that there may be another opportunity to do something like that. So we're always looking for those kind of ideas. Myself, because if I go back to the original Walk Don't Run album, and the Walk Don't Run album was something they just had to do because they had to get an album out. And they just started playing all the stuff that they played in the nightclubs where they were. And then a lot of that music was music that came out of the 50s, and they just kind of gave it their characteristic. You know, Tara's theme, Morgan, you know, songs like that. It was a very sophisticated sound. And so, you know, the other idea I had was that, why don't we take that and then kind of move it over a little bit and have something like Jazz Ventures and do something, you know, as sophisticated as Ventures oriented, you know, Ventures type of songs, a la take, as strange as it sounds, Take Five, or what's that Miles Davis song? Night in Tunisia, and you know, some of those songs like that. So, but that didn't fly either. So, so we're still looking for ideas.
I'll probably do that.
For me, when you specifically, as you transition into being a lead player,
Yes.
do you get help from Jerry and from Nogi? Do they, you know, like you said, this song, or do you have to go back in the room and sit there and play it by ear? I mean, do you get the help from them?
Boy, that's a loaded question.
Say yes.
I'm going to answer that very
You know
frankly.
the help he gets?
Yeah. No, I don't. No, I'm going to answer it very frankly. I don't get any help. You know, I don't. Yeah.
You know, it's like when somebody's afraid to go on stage, you just give them a kick and they're out on stage.
So they sit back in there and they're smiling when you're doing it, right?
Oh yeah.
What's the kid doing?
He doesn't need any help, really. Bob has a very unique style. Very good guitar player. And bass player. Right? He doesn't need help. He gets the help from just listening to the Ventures, I'm sure. I mean, all the material that we want to play. I mean, you gotta play what it is, right? I mean, but he has his own style to it.
Thank you. I'll give you the money later.
Yeah, I think there's been a problem with a lot of top groups in that when they're playing, they've got the same old 20, 30 songs that people want to hear, and you must get fed up to your back teeth to playing those same songs all the time.
Right.
And you need as artists, you know, to grow a little bit and to do something different as you're doing. Have you any thought of adding keyboards at all to get a...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I know they did it in some of the earlier ones, but I've
Yeah.
not seen anything recently to do that.
Yeah, actually, my son plays keyboards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you know, it's a difficult. The economic model that we work under right now, it makes it difficult to, you know, be profitable. To be put in a very business-oriented manner, to be profitable with where we play and how we play. So there's got to be some more thought and, you know, put into that. But yeah, we have decided, you know, we have thought about that in terms of getting to a different sound or a larger sound.
Yeah, I ask it because I'm from England and I'm a big Shadows fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the first few years,
Yeah.
it was just the four of them.
Yeah.
And then they started with Wonderful Land with Norrie Paramore doing the violin backing.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a very-
and
yeah.
it was great.
Absolutely.
And then they started later on, you know, bringing Cliff Ball in,
Absolutely,
some of the guys
yeah.
to add sort of a luscious sound to the back and to
Yeah.
maybe change the tempo. And I just wondered if you guys have, because you guys have, I think so.
We'd like to.
Right.
I mean, there's nobody in the band that was against that. It's just you know, it's a matter of economics at this point right now, and we've got to try to find a way to get around that, you know, that type of situation.
Adding another member, you mean, to?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
remember would mean you got to pay somebody else. so
Right, sure.
There's only so much money
Bob,
to go around.
I thought your solo album was wonderful.
Thank you.
It came out on a cassette.
Yeah.
And it didn't sound very good. The songs were wonderful, but the sound quality wasn't very good because I thought it was on a cassette.
Right.
It later came out on CD,
Right.
and it sounded a bit like the cassette. Is there a way to remaster that so that it sounds clear? Because some of those songs, your version of Walk on Run in the Mark Knopfler style, and When You Wish Upon a Star and all that.
Yeah.
It was played wonderfully. It just didn't sound as good as some.
I thank you so much. You know, I recorded that on a 8-track Tascam recorder.
Oh, okay.
I recorded all those on there, yeah. And So the quality was kind of what it was, and we digitally remastered it once, but you know, it kind of is what it is. The only thing I can do is go back and re-record some of those, but I'll look into it, and maybe there's some things that we could do from that standpoint. In terms of what, you bring up a good point about where can we expand from here. One of the other ideas that we had is to go to different cities and play with the classic pop symphonies, because we have done classical music in the past, and we have played with larger bands and stuff, and playing with you know, a larger band like Paul Schaefer's band at Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is great fun. It's just absolutely empowering to do that. And so, you know, we're looking at all those you know, types of potential opportunities to do
It
that.
changed for you as well, because as I say, I saw the Everly Brothers quite a few years ago, and they were still good, but you could see they were just going through the motions at
Yes,
that time.
yeah, right.
And well, here we go again, you know, Dream
Right.
and Wake Up Little Susie, and
Right.
is it hard for you, or do you do the same exact note for note each, you know, night that you're playing, or do you change a little bit? You know, because I played back in Liverpool in the 60s. I'll be giving a little bit of talk about this, and you get fed up and you think, oh, it's going real good. The audience is reeling, and you play an extra few licks, and you play an extra few
There's
licks.
no question about it. When you do, and this wasn't a great long tour in Japan. We did 33 shows. But when you play Walk Don't Run Medley 33 times, you know, in the course of a month and a half or whatever, you know, the first time you're excited, you know, because you're on stage in front of a lot of people. Probably about number 15, you're thinking about, what room was I in at the hotel? And how do I get back? Gosh, if I just had this, or, you know. And then the last show you're excited because, hey, I get to go home after this. But you're exactly right. I mean, it's work. You're inspired by it, but it is work. I've seen this young man go through, and you talk about 33 caravans, you know, that he has to do. And one of the problems that we experienced in Japan this year is there was a conservative, they were conserving on power and electricity. So all the thermostats were up, and it was warm in all the venues that we play in. In Japan, we play concert halls. It was very warm in some of those, and you know, do you ever get uninspired with?
Yeah, what's your blood pressure?
I think I'd be careful how I answer that question. You know, for me, no, I'm always inspired. Yeah, I mean, you think, okay, we got to do the same songs again tonight, but as soon as I get on stage, I'm just fired up, you know, and it's you know, business as usual, you know, and you just power through it, you know. Yeah, some nights you throw on a few extra licks than maybe the night before. You know, one day, yeah, I might be dragging a little bit. These guys wouldn't say that because they just complain about how fast the tempos are. But Bob doesn't do that. But there's a couple other guys that do. No, man, it's always a blast to be on stage. And the Japanese, as well as in the States, all the fans are just great. And they're always fired up. So that gives you, you know, all right. I'll take a little bit of that back. When you get an audience that is not fired up, it's like, you know, sticking a needle in a balloon. You know, it's pop,
Like fish in a
deflate. You have no energy. But that doesn't happen very often. The audiences, but for the most part, are really good audiences.
Yeah, because I can see from here, there are some guys who are very good, but they've never played in groups before. They've never been out in public. They play once, twice a year, or 3 times, and they play for their own satisfaction. So that kind of thing, it doesn't occur to them. You know, that you played Walk Don't Run, you know, 30 times, now the 31st time going on. But there was a quote by The Shadows, Bruce Welch, who plays rhythm, and he said his fix on it was, Well, this is the song that made us famous. This is the people that are paying to buy the records, and they want to hear exactly how we did it. And some of the early stuff, they play it note for note from the records. And some of the later stuff, then they do, you know, variations of it for their own sanity, really.
Yeah, I mean I think that goes with any artist. I think you have, you have your bass. You know, when I say bass, I don't mean bass guitar, but you have your song that is what made you famous. You know, and whether you elaborate on that, it's really up to the band. And it's really up to the guys in the band. I'm always full of energy and Bob is too. So I'm always looking for more. It goes back to how simplistic my dad was. You can't overplay. The adventure songs, you just can't overplay on those songs. They are what they are, and that's what made them special. So I try not to deviate from that too much. But I have my own style, which I'm sure you guys hear. But I try to stick to the arrangement. But the energy level, it's up and down every night.
I applaud what you do. I mean, it's really good to see you guys still going and carrying on that type of music.
Thank you.
A lot of us grew up with it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bob, there's probably going to be a time when Don decides that he wants to retire. Are you guys will still carry on?
Could you ask that again for me?
So there'll probably be one time in the future that Don will say he's tired and he wants to retire from playing. Will you guys still continue as a veteran?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, you can't go on this long without people talking about, gee, well, what if we do this or what if we do that, or gee, I don't feel like doing this anymore, or something like that. And we've had several discussions about that. We don't have any definitive plans at this point. But if, the plan now is that the ventures will go on, as the Japanese say, forever.
Yeah, why not?
5 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes.
Bob, were there any companies over there like EMI or Toshiba filming the later part of the tour when we may see a 2011 tour on DVD this year?
None that I know about. I mean, have you?
The Japanese would say no.
No. Yeah. We don't know any plans right now of any additional DVD shows or anything.
Next year is the Venture's 50th anniversary, another 50th anniversary, since their first trip to Japan. So there's a possibility that's still kind of in the works. Don't hold me to it, but we're hoping that we'll do some sort of live recording or live DVD of some kind for the 50th anniversary.
Oh, yes, sir.
One of the things I guess I'd like to see the band do in terms of the material that's there, the legacy, is what I refer to as a deep tracks album. All that great stuff that's in between the covers on all those albums. That
You
some
said
people
B
call-
tracks?
Some people call it
B-side.
but there's some really good. And you guys been adding things like Wild and Woolly to the
Right.
set, and tonight Lonely Girl. There's so much of that good stuff, and I think about particularly the Knock Me Out album, which
Mhm.
just everybody loves that album
Right.
all the way through. A CD that's just dedicated to picking those selections like that. And
That's a good idea. Yeah, very good idea. I appreciate that. Let me say one thing, that please keep your ideas, and if you have an idea that we'd like you guys to consider or do, you send it to Fiona or send it to the office, send it to me, send it to Leon, whatever. Please keep doing that. We do read everything, and we do appreciate your ideas, your comments, and whatever you have. And we intend to keep going as long as we can. So we appreciate your support, And we certainly appreciate your support of the Ventures music. Yes, sir.
I have a question, you know, like with the older material.
Yes.
There's certain songs that don't have a lot of drumming in, but there is certain parts where there is drumming, like Itchy and Diamonds from the Surf
Yep.
album.
Mhm.
I'd like to see stuff like that
Right.
done.
I would too.
You know, I mean, it's nice, there's no long drum solo, but
Yeah.
there's, you know, a good drum segment in
Right.
there.
I think that's a very good idea. I'm always pushing to get those songs either done live or, gee, we ought to go back in and redo these songs and, you know, re-record these songs or something like that, yeah.
Is there or what? I mean,
You know, it's difficult to go back and readdress some of these things because if they've already been popular, if they've already been out there, you know, there is a school of thought that, you know, well, it, you know, doesn't mean anything. I've spent a lot of my time generating ideas about, I did a reggae version of Diamond Head. I was the only guy that ever did that, you know. And I put it on my album, and then I get a lot of comments on that thing. But it's a you know, you really, it's a chance you take when you go out and do, you know, some of those things like that. But I think it's a great idea, and if we don't try, we don't, you know, we won't know if people will like that or not. So.
You do have a website?
What kind of comments do you get on that reggae version of that? Just kidding.
You two have a website? You go to the website?
A website? I don't know, Bob, do you have a website? You don't have a website.
I have a real old website.
Yeah, it's mine. I'm working on it. It takes time. But any of you guys that want to send me, you know, ideas, like Bob said, send both of us ideas. Send us, you know, hate mail or, you know, nudie pictures or anything like that. You know, you can get me at kick_crash@yahoo.com. Did you get that?
Say that again?
Kick, K-I-C-K, _ crash, C-R-A-S-H, dot, C-O-M.
At yahoo.com.
Yeah, at yahoo.com, sorry. And Category I Music will have a website up, I would say probably in the November, December timeframe. And that's the label that my new album, Leon's album, Ian's album, and some retrospective albums that we're trying to produce will be on there. Yes, sir?
I really appreciate the fact that you've been to Canada 3 times
Yes.
in the last 4 years.
We like that.
Has the Casino Rama venue approached you and said, kind of a semi-annual basis or something? We hope so.
Yeah. Casino Rama is one of the larger venues we do in Canada, which is outside of Toronto. And yeah, it's a great venue. And we play there about once every 18 months. Yeah, 18 to 24 months. So. Okay, listen, we've got to wrap things up. We do appreciate and thank you so much for having us again this year. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Give it up for Bob and Leon. Thank you. How lucky we are. Folks, we're about to have dinner shortly.